Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by our primary sponsor, BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, Tony Fairchild, and AJ Fairchild producing in the back. So, guys, thanks for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Another week in the books. We're officially across the halfway mark of the 2025 season. I mean, just the other day we were doing our kickoff show, and it's amazing once football season gets here because the season just flies by.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We're week 6 already. And last week, I think we had the hottest week 5 that we've had in quite some time. Probably the hottest week of the season so far for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Had great weather.
perfect weather.
But anyways, I'm excited to see how this week plays out. Now teams are really starting to get into the meat of their conference schedules and the fate of how teams are going to end up. And, even this early on, playoff contention, now that teams are limited down to, 12 teams now?
Yep, 12.
I believe so. So a lot of big changes, and we'll see how teams end up going into week 6. First, let's look at some news and notes from the area. Want to give a huge congratulations to Delta's Coach Vickers on his 200th career win. Coach Vickers has been around a long time, so good to see him finally get his 200th and a big win over Swanton last week. And also congratulations to striker sophomore running back Nate Ryan. Ended up breaking the single-season rushing yard record, going for 412 yards on 25 carries and 4 rushing touchdowns. So solid performance out of him. And again,
I would say.
Yeah, no kidding. And if you guys too, if you have any news or notes that think are worth mentioning, or breaking records, or big time achievements, make sure you send them in to us, and we'll give them some recognition to start the podcast off. All right, let's get into last week's game predictions. See how we ended up doing. Matthew's been on a roll this year. Finished first last week again, 17-2 record. Second was a 3-way tie between myself, Logan, Keith, and Tony, all with 16-3 records. And last was AJ with a 14-5 record. But I give AJ credit because he's a man of the people, always picking striker, which paid off for him this week. But tries to play favorite for a lot of schools and doesn't always pay off sometimes, unfortunately. On the year, Matthew leads with an 84-15 record, good for 85%. Myself, Logan, is in second with an 81-18 record, good for 82%. Third is Keith with a 78-21 record, good for 79%. Fourth is Tony with a 73-26 record, good for 74%. And in fifth is AJ with a 70-29 record, good for 71%. And, overall, if we're all picking above 70%, that's pretty solid from all of us.
Yeah, we're going to have to take away Matthew's electronics for a week. I don't know. Good Lord.
Which it's pretty solid across the board, because I was talking to AJ. I believe Drew Pasture's website, they pick 88%, and he's got all kinds of analytics that he runs on all these teams and crunches the numbers. So, if you're picking above 80%, that kind of puts you into the elite category. 70% is still really, really good. Just looking at some of the games that kind of got us. The Edgerton game, I don't think any of us saw that coming, obviously. We all had Edgerton picked. Wayne Trace had a heck of a performance and comeback. The Ottawa Hills Hilltop game, I believe Drew Pasture had Ottawa Hills favored by 30-plus points. Hilltop gets their first win of the season, so that was huge. Stumped all of us, but those were the two big ones from last week. All right, let's move on. We'll keep things rolling. On to Week 5 game recaps, and we're going to start off with the NWO Sports Game of the Week. And we were there live with Tenora Rams Live, and that was Tenora at Fairview. Fairview ended up winning this one big, 49-28. At the half, Fairview was only up 14-7. Total offense, Fairview had 522 yards, 315 passing, 207 rushing. Tenora had 363 with 235 rushing, 128 passing. Turnovers, Fairview had 0. Tenora had 2 interceptions. Some top players from Fairview. Quarterback Will Zedike. Again, this kid was calm, cool, and collected the entire night. 22 of 30, good for 73%, 315 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, had 15 carries for 87 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 total touchdowns for the game. Really showing off his legs last Friday and really stepped up, made a big difference there. Wide receiver Logan Olinger, 13 receptions, 215 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, 2 carries for 52 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Again, Olinger was a difference maker, and we'll get into it here in just a minute. All the explosive plays, and that really helped to propel Fairview in a big win over Tenora. Defensive back Brody Williams had an interception down in the Tenora Rams red zone, and Jonathan Huffman had a 70-yard pick six to also contribute to that score that Fairview had. Tenor on the flip side, running back Cooper Rapogel, again, had himself a game.
Oh, wow.
25 carries, 216 rushing yards, good for 8.6 yards a carry with 3 rushing touchdowns to add to that. Tight end Josh Lieb, 11 receptions, 84 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. The quarterback Owen Farrell was 16 of 29, good for 55%, 128 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown and 2 interceptions. So, guys, we were all there. Who wants to kick this one off?
Oh, I can go first. It just it was the game that we thought it was going to be. Honestly, we thought this game was going to be kind of a tight game, kind of be back and forth, and it really was until the those interceptions. They were just game killers, drive killers, and for the Rams. And the Rams did a nice job after halftime, down 14-7, came back. They got Fairview tried to go for the fake punt, got stuffed.
Yep.
And the Rams had it, right where they wanted it, right? Driving down, tried to tie the game up, be a totally different game, and ended up throwing the pick. And that just kind of changed the game. A 14-point swing right there. Instead of us going in to score, it was a 14-point swing. And tell you what, I don't know. I kind of held my tongue Friday night.
Yeah, for me, it's as Coach said, it's everything we thought it was going to be. We just didn't come out on the good side of the scoreboard, but from the start, fantastic crowd, great atmosphere, which Logan can touch upon here in a bit. Rams went blow for blow with the Apaches in the first half. I mean, first touchdown for Fairview was honestly just a bit of an oddball play where they went for it on, was it 3rd or 4th and short? Logan Olger actually came in for the short yardage play and kind of just got bunched up in the line. He did a fantastic job of just bopping it outside to the left and went in for about a 48-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
Fairview went on top. We came right back, tied it up, 14-7 at the half. And as Coach said, Rams midway through the second quarter, or the third quarter, going for the tie. And unfortunately, just ran the same play one too many times, and you guys called it before it even happened. Hey, run this play one too many times. And Jonathan Hoffman, I mean, his name doesn't get discussed enough, I don't think. And boy, that boy right there, he had one heck of a game for Fairview. Yes. So kudos to Jonathan Hoffman, but William Zedike, another. We see why he's all Ohio. Fantastic quarterback for Fairview. Logan Olinger. We couldn't say enough nice things about that kid. I mean, he was everywhere, offense, defense, special teams, you name it. Sometimes I think with the offense the Rams have, which player for player, probably 50-50 with Fairview as far as skills. Obviously, William Zedike's a little more skilled than Owen Farrell, but I think sometimes Sonora, they get a little pass happy.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, we ran the ball for 250 yards.
I'd say average about 7.5 a carry.
And had they wanted to for the whole game, I think Sonora could have controlled the clock in the game and probably put up close to 350, 400 yards running the ball against the Fairview defense. But when you have the skill set that the Rams have and, the right arm of Owen Farrell, sometimes I think you utilize the pass just a little too much when a simple run for 4 yards would probably, be a little better. But I'm looking on the outside, so I don't know. But anyways, a great game, great crowd. And I want to give a shout out to a couple guys from Wheels, Z104. Helped us out immensely on Friday night. Tyler Perry and Brian Stiver. They gave up their spot for us because we were searching around we were going to broadcast upstairs. Coach Rake says, hey, just go upstairs with the boys. And AJ worked that out. So we get up there. We're like, oh, man, this is going to be a cram fest. Just don't have enough room. So, Coach, as me and Logan are downstairs, like trying to set up in the bleachers, Tony stayed upstairs and worked out. Just talked to him and said, "Hey, you want to switch?" And they switched with us. So, a big, huge shout out to the Wheels crew on Friday night that gave up their spot for us, so we could have actually a space to do the game in last Friday night. So,
yeah, I think you guys had made a lot of great points. There's just a couple different points I wanted to make as well. But first, I want to start off with, Fairview fan base. unbelievable. It was awesome, last Friday. So like Keith had said, we were trying to figure out our setup, and, because we do video with Tenor Rams Live, it's a little bit more involved, trying to get our setup with the cameras, and you're not just worrying about audio, and it does require a little bit more, into it. So we were getting ready I had to go get something from my car and get ready to set up out in the bleachers. And on my way out to my car, I had 3 different Fairview fans come up and, shake hands and, thank us for, what we do. And I thought it was awesome. Talk to them a little bit about some football. And then we got out to my car, and the Fairview fans that were tailgating out there, they had a canopy and were grilling and stuff, and were offering me burgers and food. And I'm like, that's awesome. I said, I appreciate it, but I didn't want one right now because we were scrambling around trying to get our broadcast around. But that was awesome. I just thought it was really cool, and definitely appreciate the support from the Fairview community. That's for sure. But back to the game. I think big plays from Fairview. That really made a difference. You talked about the Logan Olinger package where he came in at quarterback, and it was kind of lined up out of shotgun and just tried running a little bit, a quarterback lead. Didn't work, got lost in the sauce in the line and popped it out. And that's what I said. That'd be a cool play if a lot more teams did it. Some people will actually do it. I've seen it, teams, they'll run that play intentionally where they kind of run in, they get lost, and then they bounce it outside because everyone's so focused on the middle. But I don't think that was the case for Fairview, but ended up in a touchdown for him. So that was a huge play. Brody Williams interception for Fairview. That was huge. Tenor was getting ready to punch it down in the end zone. And, unfortunately, Brody Williams made a great break and read and was able to come up with the interception and keep Tenora's, potential first points of the game off the board. So that was huge. I just thought the big thing, too, was just a little bit too predictable from Tenora's offense. We talked about the bubble screen over and over again, and it was working some, but I just felt like he had to, run that to maybe set up something later in the game. And I don't know if they had that called, maybe like a pump fake and throw it deep. But again, Jonathan Huffman read that. And Fairview's coaching staff was telling you, licking your lips because you're going to jump this route for a pick 6. And he did just that in the second half. And that created a spark and kind of opened things up for Fairview. I think after that play, Fairview really didn't look back after that. So
they kind of took over at that point.
It did. Yeah, it was a game changer. But I really liked Tenora's game plan going into this. At first, maybe kind of thought, it was going to be a shootout with the high-powered offenses. But then you got to thinking, if Tenor could run the football and control the clock, and with Tenora's defense, the secondary being a little bit, inexperienced and young, they want to help that defense by keeping them off the field with their offense. Perfect game plan. Tenor came out running the football, established the ground game with Cooper Rapogel. He was just a tank all night. I mean, all the runs that he had, breaking tackles, the yards after contact. Oh, boy. Amazing. Unbelievable. Yep. Again, I said it last week or a couple weeks ago. He's like Marshawn Lynch out there, breaking tackles and highlight-type runs. Tremendous kid, great athlete. Definitely one of my favorite players in all of Northwest Ohio. Kid just plays hard every single time. Play. But I thought that was a huge, component to the game too, was his rushing attack for Tenora. But I just felt like Tenora kind of went away from that run attack at times. It was working really well for them. And, if they're not stopping it, don't go away. Don't deviate away from it. There's a couple times on 3rd and mid, 3rd and short, that Fairview would drop down to an odd man front with 3 defensive linemen, and Tenor would drop in a pass. I mean, you could have, even 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, I wouldn't have hesitated to drop in a run with Cooper Rapogel and 3 down defensive linemen. So I just a little confused on that. But, I think the run attack from Tenor was very solid all night, and I think it was a good game. But the Rams definitely have some things to look at and work on, and I think Fairview does too. I think that rush defense, definitely needs a little work from Fairview. And if they can correct that, I think Fairview is going to be a solid team down the stretch. So
definitely
overall, solid game. But Fairview's all gas, no brakes here in the conference. They're the clear front runner at this point, but they got this pretty much the next biggest game, and that's Paulding this week. So let's move on to the next game. And speaking of Paulding, we're talking Ayersville at Paulding. And Paulding ended up winning this one 35-32. This was the NWO Sports Radio Game of the Week, and the replay can be heard on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. At the half, Paulding was up 22-13. Total offense, Paulding had 341 yards, 264 passing, 77 rushing. I didn't have Ayersville stats. Turnovers, Paulding had 2 with 1 fumble, 1 interception. Ayersville had 1 fumble. Some top players of note from Paulding. Quarterback Colt Hunt was 11 of 20, 55%. 264 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver and linebacker Jalen Mans, 3 receptions, 54 receiving yards, 1 70-yard kickoff return. He also led the defense with 14 tackles. He had a forced fumble and tackle for loss. And from the radio crew of Matt and Tony, they said Jalen was an absolute beast. And, they had kind of mentioned something that, if they put him at running back, he could have 1,000 yards. If he played on Liberty Center's team, he'd probably be getting power or Division I looks at least with his athleticism. And they said they think he's probably one of the top 5 complete players in all of Northwest Ohio. So that's saying a lot. Wide receiver, his brother Jordan Mans, another really solid performance. 4 receptions, 131 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Wide receiver Blake Roanhouse, 4 receptions, 79 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. On the flip side, from Ayersville, running back Eli Berner continues to be a workhorse for that Pilots offense. 117 rushing yards with 3 rushing touchdowns. So, guys, thoughts on the Ayersville at Paulding game? This was a good one.
Yeah, sure was. We were following this throughout the game, and our good buddy Gary was sending me texts and updates throughout the game as well. So, Paulding pulled ahead. Ayersville came back. Actually took the lead a couple of times, I believe, in the second half.
It was back and forth there
for
a while.
Oh, my word. Coach Mickey, I give him credit and the Pilots credit. Like, they may be looking for their first win of the season, but good Lord, they're close. They've been playing really well here recently. Paulding on the other side, boy, oh boy. I got a chance to watch this one when I got home on My Sports Live, and this is the first I've seen the Mans brothers since basketball, and me and Coach covered them during the late season huge GMC game at Sonora for basketball. But I don't know what Jalen did and Jordan, but good Lord, Jalen, I didn't recognize him out there. I could be wrong about this, but I think this kid put on 50 pounds of muscle during the offseason. I did not recognize him.
I watched a little bit of the game, too. I think they grew, too, like
goodness
height-wise.
Gracious. Like, during basketball season, they were athletic, but they were just kind of tall and slender. And to see them in the football uniform here in the fall, it's like, I don't know what weight program they put them on during the summer.
Pads,
but, oh, my goodness gracious, they just, especially Jalen. Now we see why he had 14 tackles again Friday, and he had 22, 23 the week before, but I
think so.
Just size-wise I was just totally shocked. But heck of an effort again by Ayersville, flipping back to them, but they're eventually going to get a win. But Paulding, got that game of the season, probably one of the biggest games in the history of Paulding football, coming up Friday night when the Apaches come strolling in. So,
yeah, and it's we kept watching the game, and you noticed that Ayersville was fighting in that thing, and see one of the things you got down here, Logan. Ayersville has been battle tested. They've played teams that were combined record like 17-3.
I just looked it up. 22-3 of all the teams they've played so far.
22-3. Paulding's is 2-18. So
jeez.
Maybe Paulding was not taking Ayersville serious. I mean, I don't know. They don't have a win and that kind of thing, and so seeing what's going to happen, and maybe they were kind of peeking ahead to this week. And
yeah, it could be
just about gave away the farm there, not paying attention to the team that's that week.
Yeah, and that was my thought too. Is you kind of see the score, and I mean, you can say that they weren't looking ahead, but we played football before too. You kind of get it. You know which one on the schedule is circled in the big week, so it can be easy at times to kind of overlook what's at hand, and did that maybe contribute to it? Possibly, but I think. I want to say, too, Ayersville is much better than their 0-5 record shows because, they've played opponents. All their records combined are 22-3. Yeah. So Ayersville has been battle-tested, and I think they continue to prove each and every week, and I think this game really showed it. I mean, Ayersville very well could have won this game. It was back and forth, and, Eli Berner continues to run the football really well for him, and we'll get to it later for a possible play of the week, but that play that they had right before half score, what a huge play to keep them in the game. And they lined up in the muddle huddle and snapped it to the holder, and then they optioned it out right, and they flipped it and then threw it to whoever in the end zone. Got tipped about 2-3 times, and I don't know who it was from Ayersville that came up with the football, but ended up with 6 points right at the half. But absolutely incredible. But those kids over in Ayersville, they definitely do not give up. Especially being 0-5, it can be hard to just kind of close the book on the season and kind of give up. But I don't think that's the case with Coach Mickey and the Pilots. I mean, I think Ayersville's right on the verge of getting their first win and can go out there each and every week here on out and compete with the best of them in the Green Meadows Conference.
Yep.
But on the flip side from Paulding, again, they've got athletes all over the field. I think that's what makes them so dangerous.
Yep.
It's just this game, I think they had too many mistakes. I was told that they had like 3 roughing the punter
they're
penalties.
they're a physical team, without a doubt. Very physical.
Very physical. But, sometimes I think, in a sense, almost maybe too physical and maybe not as disciplined, leading to some costly errors for them. But, if they get those cleaned up, Paulding will see, a lot more improvements. And I think that this week, you've got to play error-free football against Fairview because, the team with the less mistakes and is more detailed is going to be the one that comes up with the win. So Paulding, I'm sure they're going to be self-critical and look back at the film and really learn from it. And they've got to play their best football this week if they want a chance at the GMC title. Let's move on to the next game here. Wayne Trace at Edgerton. This game stumped us all, but Wayne Trace came up with a huge 35-28 win. And I believe, didn't Wayne Trace win this game last year too?
Yep. Deja vu.
So
2 straight years.
Wayne Trace has the kryptonite to Edgerton Bulldogs. Halftime, Edgerton was up 13-7. Total offense, Wayne Trace had 281 with 196 rushing, 85 passing. I didn't have Edgerton's at the time. Turnovers, Wayne Trace had 1 fumble. Edgerton had 4, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble. Wayne Trace ended up scoring on 3 consecutive rushing touchdowns from Carter Baumley in the third quarter. And I'm assuming the way it played out is, they got those 3 interceptions in that third quarter and just made him pay each and every time and capitalized on the mistakes of Edgerton. And some top players of note from Wayne Trace. Running back Carter Baumley, again, had himself a game. 13 carries, 97 rushing yards, good for 7.5 yards per carry with 3 rushing touchdowns. Quarterback Carter Clemens was pretty solid too. 7-14, 85 passing yards, 16 carries for 48 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. And Zach Stoller had 121-yard pick 6. From Edgerton, quarterback Maddox Baker, 28 of 38, good for 74%, 353 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. But the big killer was the turnovers, had 4 of them, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble. Wide receiver Carter Gibson had himself a game, 12 receptions, 200 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. Probably one of the stronger wide receiver performances we've seen this year. And wide receiver Kellen Sanchez, 9 receptions, 98 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts on this big GMC matchup here?
Well, I'm just going to bring it up because, if AG is not here on the camera, but turnovers, man. I don't know what it is with Wayne Trace. That they must practice that because their games are always turnovers. And, they force 4 turnovers, and that's the difference in a game, no doubt about it. You get four turnovers in a game, and you win that turnover battle, especially by that much. You should be winning the ball game. And congratulations to Wayne Trace for coming out and putting it on Edgerton.
Yeah, 28 unanswered points there in the third quarter. Right there's the game. Man, whatever it is, Wayne Trace has the recipe against Coach Flagel and the Bulldogs.
They do.
Almost identical records last year and this year. Wayne Trace was 0-4 last year going into this game, 0-4 going into this game this year, and basically the same thing happened. Last year was at Wayne Trace, and Wayne Trace knocked off Edgerton, and same thing happened this year. But fantastic game by Maddox Baker, and you guys said Carter Gibson and Kellen Sanchez, but Carter Baumley, wow, 3 scores. Carter Clemens, decent game by him, dual threat quarterback, but give Wayne Trace credit. See Edgerton. You're traveling to Edgerton,
it's always a tough place to play.
Place to play right there with the fans on top of you. And Edgerton's 4-0, looking to be 5-0, and all of a sudden Wayne Trace comes in and steals your thunder. So huge win by the Raiders.
I know, and honestly, I think of this game. Everyone's been talking about Fairview and Paulding and Sonora and Edgerton kind of in the top mix, but Wayne Trace is kind of over here saying, "Don't forget about us because we're contenders too." So. This win is huge for the Raiders. Still keeps them in contention for, a chance at the GMC title. And, on the flip side of Edgerton, really didn't play bad. With Maddox Baker, he was 74%, threw the ball a lot. But, man, 4 of those incompletions were all turnovers. And, they're just costly. When you have that margin, that turnover margin ratio of 4-1, it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole a lot of times and come back and win football games. And then their stats, I always like to refer to, the turnover margin. If you win that turnover battle, I think it's like 80-something%. You're guaranteed to win the game. Wow. And so if you can win that turnover battle, good things happen, and wins end up in the win column. But solid win for Wayne Trace. On the flip side of Edgerton, you got to turn things around in a hurry because in the next couple of weeks they got a couple solid matchups. Yep. Let's move on to the next game. Looking at some WBL action, Van Wert at Defiance. And again, I feel like we've covered Van Wert a lot, but all their games are so close this year. Van Wert ended up winning 36-27 at the half. Van Wert was up 21-7. Total offense, Van Wert had 364 with 191 rushing, 173 passing. Defiance had 401 yards of total offense, 357 rushing with 44 passing. Turnovers for the game, Van Wert had 0. Defiance had 3 with 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. Some top players from Van Wert: quarterback Zach Crummy, 12 of 16, good for 75%, 175 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He did also have a rushing touchdown to add to that. Running back Xavier Kelly, again, one of the better running backs in the area, 17 carries, 184 rushing yards, 10.8 yards per carry. He had a long carry of 92 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Wide receiver Keaton Welch, 4 receptions, 109 receiving yards with 1 receiving touchdown, and also had a 23-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. From Defiance, the running backs were busy this game, that's for sure. Kelton Gibbs carried the football 31 times for 229 rushing yards, 7.4 yards a carry. Running back Chase Comiso, 16 carries, 103 rushing yards, good for 6.4 yards a carry with 4 rushing touchdowns, but he did have 1 fumble. And guys, thoughts on the Van Wert and Defiance game?
Yeah, Van Wert's, we talked about them probably every week during the season.
So.
They're
all
just
their games have been so
close, and they're a high-scoring offense. Like quarterback, Crummy, great quarterback. Xavier Kelly, can't say enough nice things about him. Probably one of the top 5 runners in our area. But Defiance, Kelton Gibbs, goodness gracious.
Can't believe anytime you get over 30 carries, especially at the high school level, that's a lot of carries. So what a workhorse for the Bulldogs.
Kudos to him. Chase Comiso, another game over 100 yards. But I think Defiance just fell behind too soon and, couldn't catch up. But Van Wert still going to be in the top third of the WBL, probably in, obviously WAPOC, but they're going to be right there for second and third place. Defiance, unfortunately, they got a rough schedule ahead, too. Got some big boys coming up down the road, so hopefully Coach Schroedenauer and Defiance can get back in the W column soon.
Yeah, coming up for Defiance, too, you talk about big games ahead. Lima Shawnee this week. Kenton, which is much improved, Elida. And then the end of the season, Lima Bath and Salina. So
that's a rough.
There's not an easy week in the WBL, that's for sure.
No. And the Defiance lost the turnover battle again. You talked about that just with the Wayne Trace Edgerton game. 3 turnovers, when you lose by 9. So, I mean, it's just you got to clean up the turnovers. And if you clean that up, but I really like Van Wert's balanced attack. I mean, 191 rushing, 173 passing, just doing whatever they want to do, basically, on both sides of the ball. So
I think that's the thing I like with Van Wert is, they can, they're so balanced that, if they need to go, passing attack, they can do it. If they need to be more run attack with Xavier Kelly, they can do that. They've got a dual threat quarterback in Zach Crummy too. So they're very diverse in what they can do on the offensive side of the football. And I think that gives teams fits.
It's a fun team to watch.
It would be. And you look at Defiance though, they're very kind of found their identity and they're a very run-heavy team now. But even if you're run-heavy, I think you got to establish that pass attack a little bit more just to kind of open up some of those run lanes and keep teams on their toes on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you kind of look at that too with another team I look at is almost Delta.
Yeah.
Delta is very, very good, but they run into some issues where, or situations maybe late in the game where they can't really pass the football. They need the clock to stop a lot just because they don't have a passing attack. So if you want to make deep runs, I think, you got to have a little bit better established passing attack.
Yeah, unfortunately for Colt Ward, like he's learning, was it just sophomore?
Yes.
Freshman, sophomore. He's learning in the WBL. Like if you're a freshman quarterback or a sophomore quarterback in, say, the GMC,
right,
you're probably going to do a little bit better. But yeah, this is unfortunately, he's still young and still learning. Unfortunately, when you play in the WBL, you got to bring your A game every Friday night. So, but he's going to get better.
Yeah, and you talk about developing too. Week 1, they play a tough Napoleon game. One of the most attended and biggest games to start the season. So there's a lot of pressure there. Ottawa Glandorf, which they won by 1 point, and OG is always tough. But then you play Wapakoneta, St. Mary's, and Van Wert, which are 3 teams that are at the top of the WBL. So it's like you're trying to progress and learn and really develop as a quarterback, but it's tough because you're playing these kings of the conference early on in the season.
Friday.
So it's hard to really get things going. So I think if Defiance, we know the run attack's there. They continue to develop. Colt Ward continues to grow as the season goes on. I think they'll see some success, but they really got to fix up that pass attack. Next game, Antwerp at Hicksville. Antwerp ended up winning this one 19-13. At the half, Hicksville had 13 points in the lead, with Antwerp having 7. Total offense for the game, Antwerp had 321 with 175 rushing, 146 passing. Hicksville had 277 yards with 186 rushing and 91 passing. Turnovers, Antwerp had 1 fumble. Hicksville, again, the turnover battle, had 4 with 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. Some top players from Antwerp. Quarterback Hampton Rogie, 16-28, 57%, 146 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns. So a solid performance out of him.
Yep.
Wide receiver Ryder Hines, 8 receptions, 72 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns. And running back Zach Salas, 9 carries, 94 rushing yards, good for 10.4 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown, and he also had 1 20-yard reception. On the flip side from Hicksville, running back Cross Seedike carried the football well, 11 carries, 127 rushing yards, good for 11.5 a carry, and 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Colin Lievel, 8 carries, 40 rushing yards, and he also had 6 receptions for 74 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. Quarterback Zane Smith for the Aces, 12 of 24, 91 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, but he did have those 3 interceptions. So, guys, thoughts on this Green Meadows Conference matchup between Antwerp and Hicksville?
Again, going back to the turnover battle, right off the bat, but a nice game that could have gone either way. I believe I had Hicksville picked in this game, and I thought I had it, but just couldn't finish it out. But a good game by Cross Seedike, just couldn't get it done.
Yep, we followed this one, closely during our game. Saw Hicksville a previous week. They got some athletes. Lavelle and Zedike, they're very good at what they do. You got a freshman quarterback, Zane Smith, 12 of 24. But Antwerp came back from a 13-7 halftime deficit. They got some athletes too. Hampton Rogie is injured last year. Good to see him back healthy, 146 yards. Ryder Hines, another good game by him, and Zach Salas. So we'll see Antwerp this Friday when Sonora plays over there. Unfortunately for Antwerp, I think they got the meat of the schedule still left yet. I still think they have to play Sonora, Fairview, Paulding, Wayne Trace.
Yeah.
So they got some big boys coming up. But, Coach Hale, you always got to be ready when you play an Archer team.
Yeah, and for some reason, I feel like, whenever, Tenora's traveled to Antwerp, it's tough to play at Antwerp sometimes.
Yep.
That's maybe a venue that people don't really, bring up all that often. But for some reason, anytime Antwerp's hosting or, they're a tough place to play at. So Tenora will have a tough time this week. But, Antwerp, again, solid performance out of all their kids, really efficient game. That's the big thing is they took care of the football. And as we've seen in a lot of games this week, that turnover battle, whoever wins it, and, is typically the one that comes up with the win. And Antwerp controlled the football, really did a nice job at developing the rushing attack. And, good things happen when you can do that and open up the passing lanes for Hampton Rogie and the boys. So solid win for Antwerp. Last game here, and we have NWOAL action, and that's Patrick Henry at Wauseon. Patrick Henry ended up winning this one 19-7. This game was close all night long. At the half, they were tied up 7-7. Total offense, Patrick Henry had 248 yards for the game, 119 passing, 129 rushing. Wauseon had 127 passing with 20 rushing. Turnovers, Patrick Henry had 2 with 1 interception, 1 fumble, and Wauseon had 2 interceptions. Some top players from Patrick Henry, quarterback Tristan Rosebrook, 12 of 19, 63%, 119 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He did have 1 interception. Running back Jaden Rudder, 16 carries for 90 rushing yards. Running back Cal Schroeder, 10 carries, 47 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. Wide receiver Reed Krieger, 3 receptions, 56 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. And I also did hear Grant Smith tore things up this game on the defensive line, had 4 sacks, I believe, too. So absolute menace for that Patrick Henry defense. On the other side for Wauseon, quarterback Cale Albright was 11 of 25, good for 127 passing yards and 2 interceptions. Wide receiver Logan Peasley, 3 receptions, 73 receiving yards, but kind of looked at the box score of this one. I know Kale ended up with some negative rushing yards. I think the way it sounds is he was just getting pressured all night long by the defensive line in the front seven from Patrick Henry. So, guys, thoughts on this game here? I think this one probably ended up closer than a lot of people anticipated, but at the same time, Wauseon's played some tough competition to start the season.
Yeah, Wauseon's still looking for their first win, but I can guarantee you that there's nobody that's on their schedule that's going to look by Wauseon.
No.
I mean, they played some really tough early games. This game was 7-7 at the half, 7-7 midway to into the third too, I believe. Cale Albright, decent performance by him. Peasley, good receptions, 73 yards. Flip side of Patrick Henry, you mentioned possibly some injuries for them. Defensively, they have 2 shutouts, 2 games they've allowed just 7, and then the game versus Columbus Grove, I think they allowed 21. But they're going to find out defensively this week if they can stand up to the LC Tigers. But Patrick Henry is one of those teams you're kind of wondering if, well, you got a Hall of Fame coach, don't get me wrong, but are they a little bit underperforming this year for a team that's undefeated? Are they just, I mean, they beat Columbus Grove in a very good game a couple weeks ago, and then this one, I guess, did they look past Wauseon? I guess I'm just going to say.
Just to
blurt it out there. Did they look past Wauseon, looking towards Liberty Center, or as we started the conversation, is Wauseon just one of those 0-5 teams that playing in a tough conference, they're actually probably better than an 0-5 team?
I'm going to say both.
Yeah,
I mean, we've kind of talked about that too before. I mean, with Wauseon, they lose week 1 to Fairview, 34-28. Very well could have won that game, and Fairview's 5-0, and we know how solid Fairview is. Bellevue, they lost a little bit bigger, but Bellevue's a solid team. Eastwood, Wauseon lost 13-35. And then Evergreen 7-14. So Wauseon's pretty much been competitive in a lot of their games.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think it goes back to kind of what Paulding was doing. They had a big game the following week, and I think you do kind of overlook those teams in a sense.
Yeah, it could have been very well what happened, but PH just like you said, Keith. I don't know. They're winning, but they're not winning pretty, in my opinion. Not yet.
Winning ugly, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll see how they handle Liberty Center, and we all know it's Liberty Center, and I think there was a year before they said that PH is going to get taken out behind the woodshed against Liberty Center, unless Coach I's got something in the books here. In my opinion, the way PH has been playing lately, it could get ugly this coming Friday against Liberty Center. But
that game's at Liberty Center too.
Yeah. That's going to be a nice crowd over there, too.
Yeah,
We can talk more about that later. But
Wauseon's been playing well. It just can't get in the W column.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know. We heard through the the rumor mill that there were some injuries from Patrick Henry in the game, and I don't know exactly who, but maybe that contributed to this score too. We weren't there, so obviously we don't know all the details. But hopefully those kids recover, because we want to see teams at their best and fully healthy when they're playing, especially this week for Patrick Henry in a big time matchup versus LC. But I think Wauseon's going to be a team this entire season that the rest of the conference play. I don't matter who you are, you cannot count Wauseon out, because Wauseon is literally right there. I kind of put them in the same category as almost Ayersville and the GMC.
Yep, I agree.
It's just their equivalent in a different conference, where I think they're much better than what their record displays. So, all right. We're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap things up from the game recaps, but we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Titan Sports and the play of the week. ESN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Looking for a personalized financial guidance right here in Bryan, Ohio? Meet Melissa R. Stockman, CHFC, a trusted Edward Jones financial advisor. Melissa specializes in retirement savings and income strategies, estate and legacy planning, customizable wealth strategies, insurance and annuities, and support for entrepreneurs and business owners. As a chartered financial consultant, she brings deep expertise and care in building financial plans tailored to your goals. Ready to take your next financial step? Call Melissa's office at 419-633-0647 or visit Edward Jones on 130 North Main Street, Bryan, to get started. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Fitzenreiter HVAC, keeping Northwest Ohio comfortable since 1955. Whether it's scorching summer heat or bitter winter cold, Fitzenreiter has your back with expert heating, cooling, and indoor air quality solutions for your residential and commercial needs. Need fast, reliable service? Call the local pros you can trust. Fitzenreiter HVAC. Give them a call today at 419-784-0828 or visit fitzenreiterhvac.com for more info. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at NWOBball.com. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to Play of the Week, sponsored by Titan Sports. So be sure to submit your play each week. Titan Sports offers revolutionary wearable GPS technology for high school football strength and conditioning programs, giving you all the metrics to get the most out of your athlete. So again, we thank Titan Sports for sponsoring this segment. This week, again, had a lot of great plays sent in. So we're going to take a look at some honorable mention plays from the Northwest Ohio area right now. So check them out.
2-7 also sponsors our play of the game. Rams have 5 receivers, 4 one side.
Told y'all, there it is.
Right there. Intercepted by Jonathan Hoffman, and he is gone.
What'd I just say, guys? You can't keep going to the well. It's going to run dry.
Hoffman jumped the route and took it 60 yards for the pick 6.
I thought I was over this.
As I always say, there can only be one, and this week there actually is one. There's no two, but this week's Titan Sports Play of the Week is going to go to the Ayersville Pilots, and we're going to check that play out here, and we'll kind of describe what goes on afterwards, let you see all the action.
Back there. But this will be the first field goal attempt for the Pilots this season.
Owen Lloyd to hold, and it's a fake. And the toss, they look to throw, lobbed up, batted around, caught for the touchdown! Unbelievable.
Little pinball there in the end zone. Watch it on the 5-star replay. They line up for the field goal. It's a fake all the way. There's the option, and now they go with the kind of the option halfback pass. There's 1, 2, 3 tips. And how about that? Wow.
So you guys just watched the play. These guys have all seen it here. They line up in a muddle huddle right before half, one last play, 4th and 7. So Ayersville's lined up in the muddle huddle. They snap the ball. They ended up faking it and roll out to the right. They option it and end up throwing a pass to the center that rolls out into the end zone. Ball gets tipped 2-3 times, and Jeremiah Peak comes up with the football in the end zone for 6 points for the Pilots, which really helped them stay in the game for that entire second half. So tremendous play. It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. I had to go back and watch it again to see, where everyone was at. But it's pretty cool to see that they came up with the football and came up with 6 points. So, guys, thoughts on this play by the Ayersville Pilots?
Just similar to what we saw from Liberty Center last week. It's kind of the same situation, but just a neat play. And you see it get tipped, and it just happens to fall right into his hands. So,
Jackson Stamball threw it.
Okay.
And a shout out to our good buddy Gary again helping us out because we cannot see the Ayersville numbers. So I'm shooting Gary messages right before we went back live just because trying to see the Ayersville numbers.
I was
going
to say I wanted to give
impossible.
all the kids a shout out that were involved, but it's impossible to see the numbers on the video. So,
but yeah, thanks to Gary, and that was just a heck of a catch by Jeremiah Peak. So congratulations to the Ayersville kids.
Yeah, nice play by the Pilots. All right, we are on to Player of the Week from Week 5. We got a lot of different submissions here. So we're going to go through the nominees, and we'll kind of talk about who some people were in contention, and then I'll release who the Player of the Week was. This segment sponsored by BSN Sports, so we thank them again for sponsoring. Fairview quarterback Will Zedike, Fairview wide receiver Logan Olinger, Tenor running back Cooper Rapogel, Paulding quarterback Colt Hunt, Paulding wide receiver linebacker Jalen Mans, Ayersville running back Eli Berner, Edgerton wide receiver Carter Gibson, Van Wert running back Xavier Kelly, Delta running back Marcus Nagel, Montpelier quarterback Hayden Sharps, Napoleon running back Hayden Grohl, Lipsick wide receiver Avery Paris, and striker running back Nate Ryan. So guys, a lot of good names on this list. Yep. Who was kind of caught your eye for possible Player of the Week?
Well, for me, I really liked Logan Olinger. I think he was a playmaker in that Sonora game, and Sonora was battling in there trying to hang in that game, and Olinger, along with a slew of other kids from Fairview, like we mentioned to Hoffman earlier, but he just had a nice game. He ended up getting freed on the sideline there at the end and caught another touchdown pass. It kind of was kind of like the nail in the coffin there, but 215 receiving yards, a couple touchdowns, plus he had that rushing touchdown that put Fairview on the board at the beginning of the game. So to me, Logan Olinger was definitely a nominee.
Yeah. And Jonathan Hoffman's another one.
He could have very well been on this list,
absolutely been on the list. Despite the loss, I'm going with Cooper Replogle. There's nobody that has run the ball harder in the last 3 weeks. 25 carries, 216 yards, 8.6 yards a carry, 3 scores. And this kid was just bouncing off tacklers all night long. He could have run for 300 yards had he got a few more carries. So Cooper Replogle is my nominee.
And just a little add-on with Cooper is pretty cool because we were waiting to get out of the press box because there's tight space. So we just waited until 105.7 was done interviewing Coach Rakes. And Coach Rakes even gave him a shout-out that, said he had runs like Marshawn Lynch-esque. And, we've been saying that last couple of weeks. But, Coach Rakes even recognizes that, he's a special talent over there for Tenor too. But after all the consideration and, we did some talking, I think this week it's going to go to one kid, and whenever you break some records, that's always a pretty solid thing. And this week, sophomore running back Nate Ryan from Stryker is going to be our BSN Sports Player of the Week. Broke the single season game rushing record, going for 412 yards on 25 carries, 4 touchdowns, averaging 16.5 yards a carry. I don't care if it's 11-man, 8-man, flag football. I don't care. When you run for that many yards in a game and your team ends up with a victory, that's very deserving of Player of the Week. So congratulations. Nice performance out of Nate Ryan. Kid's just a sophomore, so it looks like he's got a bright future ahead.
Congratulations.
So Player of the Week will receive NWO Sports gear courtesy of BSN Sports. So we just want to thank sales rep Jim Garris and Rob Held for being great supporters of coverage for athletics in Northwest Ohio. All right, guys. Moment of truth. We're on to Week 6 power rankings. I don't know, out of all the years that I've done NWO Sports, that there's been as much controversy as there is now with the power rankings. It's incredible. I mean, people are online beefing over these rankings.
Oh, it's so great.
Just another little quick blurb, though I think half the people that do comment don't even listen to our podcast.
They can't.
For teams that may not have the best of record, there's a reason why some of them are maybe ranked higher than teams with a undefeated record. It's because of strength of schedule, and just because you're 5-0, but again, you don't play a quality schedule, that doesn't mean you're better than for instance, we'll get to it, Columbus Grove, a 2-3 team that's a very, very good football team with a lot of great athletes and can go out there and compete with the best of them. So there's more into it than just wins and losses. Quality of wins, quality of losses, the margin of win, margin of loss, things like that. So those all contribute to it. So what we'll do, start with number 26 and work our way down and see what Tony and Keith think of the rankings. Coming in at number 26, we're looking at Swanton. 25, North Central. 24, Hilltop. 23, Hicksville. 22, Antwerp. 21, Ayersville. 20, Wayne Trace.
Yeah, disappointing that there's 4 GMC teams in
Yeah,
there.
we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
But you know,
It is what it is.
a couple of those teams are knocking on the door for a win. So
Yeah, big time win for Wayne Trace.
Yep.
You know, they move up a little bit this week. So anytime you can beat a solid Edgerton team, that's going to help you move on up. Number 19, Bryan. Number 18, Eden. Number 17, Montpelier. Number 16, Edgerton. Number 15, Ottawa Glandorf.
I'm okay.
yep, I think
I think Eden's just the big question
Yep,
mark for
yeah.
me. And again, it's so hard for us to cover Eden. We've tried to, but I haven't received any stats this year, so it's hard to really, see what's going on over there for the Bombers. But they've got some bigger games coming up the stretch, so that will kind of see where they're placed here down the road. Coming in at number 14, Wauseon, 13, Tenora, 12, Evergreen, 11, Paulding, 10, Columbus Grove, and we'll save the next 9.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to throw a fit about Paulding being 5-0, but hey, you win this Friday night against Fairview, and that's going to shut
That's gonna
everybody
move you
up.
up
So
quite a bit.
Yeah, we
they'll
just
take
talked-
care of business.
We talked earlier during the game recaps, talked about their strength of schedule. So,
Yep.
got to play people to get some respect.
And Paulding was just in a dogfight with Ayersville,
Right.
who doesn't
Yep.
have a win, which we had said Ayersville's better than an 0-5 record.
Right.
But, Paulding, I think maybe, not as good as what a undefeated record shows. But, yeah, like this week, that will settle a lot of it and kind of see where Paulding's placed. Coming in at number 9 is Delta. Number 8, Lipsick. 7, Defiance. 6, Van Wert will save the top 5.
I'm okay.
Yep. I mean, Defiance, at least personally for me, maybe just a spot or two high, but again, that'll take care of itself in the upcoming week. So,
And breaking the top 5 is Napoleon. Coming in at number 4, Archbold. Number 3, Fairview. Number 2, Patrick Henry. And number 1, Liberty Center. And this week, the top 2 are facing off. So
Yep.
really going to shake some things up here in the rankings as well. So thoughts on this top 5 group?
No, like I said, Napoleon's been playing very well. I think they're deserving of being in the top 5. Archbold's been playing well.
Oh.
Fairview had a big win. To me, it's Liberty Center is the top dog, and I don't see anybody at this point taking them out of that spot.
And Archbold's a team that's
Yes.
playing really, really well right now.
Absolutely.
And, that only loss is to St. Henry, a really good St. Henry team that almost knocked Marion Local off, just a couple of weeks ago. But I think Archbold's one that they, I know people are saying Patrick Henry, Liberty Center, that's the big game in the conference. I think Archbold might give Liberty Center maybe a little bit better of a battle than PH. We'll see. I mean,
we'll find
obviously
out.
we see PH Liberty Center this week, but Archbold's looking to be a really complete team on offense, defense. They got a lot of nice looking athletes and, really playing good football at this point in time.
yeah, I mean, you stole my thoughts process there, Logan. And Archibald, they're playing as well as, obviously, if for my take, I just eliminate Liberty Center from most conversations because they're so much better
Right.
than everybody else. But you have an argument that Archibald is playing as well as any team that we cover in our area.
I agree.
mean, and they don't have really. You look at their schedule: Swanton, Wauseon, Patrick Henry. That's at home. Play Bryan. Then week 10 is Liberty Center. So there's a very good chance that the Blue Streaks could go into that week 10 with 1 loss.
Yeah, I mean,
So
they could be 8-1 going into that week against Liberty Center, and
Yep.
I think there's a strong argument that you could say Archbold's number 2 at this point in time. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Coach Dominic and the Blue Streaks have in store because, again, they're just playing really, really good football right now. All right. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with everyone's favorite, the Hot Takes, presented by BSN Sports.
Under the lights this Friday night. While your team is taking hits on the field, who's got your back off the field? At Batten Stevens Body Shop in Defiance, we tackle the toughest repairs, from fender benders to full collision restoration. Our iCar Gold Class team scores big on quality and service. Proudly serving Defiance County for over 40 years, with certified technicians, advanced diagnostics, and lifetime warranties. We work with all major insurance providers. Batten Stevens Body Shop, the home team when your car takes a hit. Visit us at battenstevens.com or call 419-497-3111. Nestled in the heart of Sherwood, Ohio, Crystal Fountain Park invites you to say I do, in a place where history whispers around every corner. Surrounded by 28 acres of woods, meadows, illuminated trails, outdoor chapels, a tranquil reflection pond, and fire pit lounges. Whether planning a wedding, rehearsal dinner, or elegant gathering, Crystal Fountain Park blends historic elegance with modern flexibility and heartfelt service. Visit crystalfountainpark.com or call 419-576-1910 today to book your unforgettable moment.
RE/MAX Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer.
Experience award-winning care at Defiance Chiropractic Center, voted first place in the Crescent News Readers' Choice Awards Best of the Region. We offer chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, DOT and sports physicals, and personalized wellness plans. Located at 1770 Jefferson Avenue in Defiance. Call 419-784-2300 today and feel your best naturally.
Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Welcome back to the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to the hot takes presented by BSN Sports. So again, these are fan submitted, and usually Sunday, Monday, whenever before the podcast, we have these submitted in online, and always a lot of good conversation, so keep sending these in to us. We've got 3 good ones today. We're going to kick things off with some NWOAL talk, and we're kind of actually just talking about this hot take a little bit. So the first one is, someone sent in, Archbold is going to win out through week 9, then get slapped with a huge dose of reality week 10 when Liberty Center rolls into town. Archbold puts 42 on Evergreen, whose opponent record is a combined 4-16, and now all we are hearing is how they are knocking off LC this year. Is Archbold a good football team? Yes. Are they going to hang with LC? No. So, Keith, you want to start with this one? We were just kind of talking about this, actually.
So like Nostradamus here.
Might as well pick up our conversation and finish it here. So,
yeah, I didn't actually see it till we strolled up, and then Tony's like, hey, we just talked about this. I was like, what? So, yeah, I mean, Archbold, I think they have a very good 50-50 pass run option. Ryder Ryan, as we said, one of the top runners in the area and in the NWOAL. Defense is playing great, have good special teams like Archbold always has. Coach Dominic, one of the better coaches in the area. I mean, look at all the coaches in the NWOAL, and then Coach Dominic seems to get overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
But he always has a very quality program. Last year, they had a little bit of a rebuilding a season. A lot of youth last year, but again, come back strong this year, and they only have 1 loss. And there is a good chance that heading into week 10, yes, Liberty Center will probably knock them off, and they'll probably knock them off by 30-plus points.
And I like the point you said. I feel like with Archbold, they do kind of get overlooked because last year was a rebuilding season, and Coach Dominic is a great coach, but yeah, he kind of gets overlooked because I think just that down season last year. But this year, Archbold's making their presence known, and they've got so many solid athletes. That's the thing with them. They're such a complete team, and I think what they do best is the guys that whatever role they're in, they do their job and they do it well. They had guys like Aaron Jared Krieger. He had a kickoff return this last week, so he's a solid returner. Wide receiver too. You got guys like Morgan Harris, Wyatt Klein, which he played really well against Tenora just a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh. Forgot about him.
I'm trying to think, Anderson Bentley plays a great fullback too. A lot of key blocks. The quarterback, Pinter. Solid quarterback too. That's really developing, and Archbold is from top to bottom is just a really good team. And roster numbers too. They've got so much depth on their team too. They've got actually, I think, more kids on their roster than Liberty Center does. So.
And one thing which me and Coach Fairchild noticed this when they came over to Tenora to play, week 3.
Yeah.
Their coaching staff is amazing.
That's like 12 of them.
They have a staff quality staff that knows what they're doing, and they can teach these individual kids some of the finer points that some staffs that doesn't have the luxury of.
14 assistant coaches listed on the roster.
Oh, wow.
Correct. And we were like trying to count them as they were outside the locker room. I was like, this is great.
And these aren't coaches that are just like dads of kids. I mean, these guys have some good football knowledge, or a lot of them are former players that had a lot of success, or maybe played at the collegiate level, and they've got a lot of knowledge that they can provide.
You feel like if you have a kid that needs a little more instruction, you can pull him out of practice and take him off to the side with a coach, and then he can drill him up for 5 minutes and send him back on the practice field, where other teams I don't think has that luxury at times.
Yeah, I really don't have much more to add, guys. I think you guys kind of covered it, but Archbold, it's not to be disrespectful. Don't get too hyped up. You've won a few games, and but again, you just look at the schedule really quick. You did knock off some good teams. You knocked off a Delta team, but again, you knocked off Evergreen, and they were undefeated. You shut them out. That's a great win. Sonora, you battle with Sonora. I'm not saying Sonora's not a good team, but Sonora has to prove themselves yet this year. So just win the games you got to win, and prepare yourself for that Liberty Center game and the Patrick Henry game too, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
You're going to probably have a cakewalk this week with Swanton, and you're going to go into Wauseon, and we just saw Wauseon play well. So, just play one game at a time, and then see what happens when week 10 rolls around.
And that's what I was going to say. If you're Archbold, the biggest game is the game at hand. It's this week's game. Don't overlook things. Continue to take care of business each and every week. And I'm looking at Drew Pasture's, predictions for the next couple of weeks. So Archbold's actually favored in every single game up until the Liberty Center game. They're even favored in the Patrick Henry game by 2 points, and then they're projected to lose by 23 to Liberty Center. So, I mean, I agree with the statement. I think that they roll in. They have a really good shot at rolling in with just one loss. The PH game may be a coin flip. I'm sure that's going to be a battle. But Liberty Center is just another beast. I mean, they have asserted themselves into a whole nother category these last couple of years. And
that's leading right into our next hot take.
It is. And we'll just go right into the next hot take while we're at it, because, I mean, we pretty much agreed kind of with that statement. But the next hot take, what we were just talking about leads right into it. Have programs like Liberty Center, Wapakoneta, Marion Local got that much better, or have other programs got that bad?
No, I think they've gotten that much better. And Keith, you kind of touched on it. In my opinion, you look at these teams that are the Liberty Centers, the Marion Locals, the Wapakonetas, the Archbolds. The difference is staff.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you look at these guys, when they roll in, 15 coaches on staff, you know what I mean? That makes a difference.
Absolutely.
That makes a huge difference if you can put that many people on your staff. And, coming from a coach myself, the more people you've got, so you can just, spread out the practices. You can have more individual sections and, more individual coaching for position players, that kind of stuff. It makes a huge, huge difference when you have that kind of staff. When there's only a couple of you, well, then you can't break it up as much as you need to. So, I mean, I don't know what other teams have gotten that bad, but I think it comes down to coaching.
I think it's both. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is my response to everything. I think it's both for everything. But I think Liberty Center, Wapakoneta, Marion Local, coaching I think is one reason. Community support. A lot of these communities, I'm not so much sure as Wapakoneta because we don't cover them as much. We don't cover Marion Local either, but I mean, those communities live, breathe, and die football. Right. I mean, you go anywhere in town, they're going to be talking about football, going to be talking about players. They're going to be talking about last week's game, the upcoming games in the season. It's just, that's all they do in these communities. But, the big question is, how do you get to that point? Obviously winning, but, how do you win? And again, there's a lot of answers to that, but I think going back to this statement, I think those programs have gotten that much better and they're in a whole nother category. But I think some of the other programs in the area, though, like there's just not the talent like there has been. And we've talked about that before too. And I don't know what that is. And it's an ongoing topic, which I don't want to really get into it too much, is, why are numbers dwindling, this and that. I don't know.
Right.
It's just one of those things that it's unfortunate to see because there is such a division between these top teams and then pretty much everyone else. So,
I like the previous subject, I think you guys nailed everything. It is a combination of 50-50. Liberty Center, Wapa, Canetta, Marion Local, they're like way above everybody else. And you guys are exactly right. Just look at the GMC, for example, which is, a conference we cover for our school. But there's some really good teams in the GMC, 2 or 3. Then there's some really bad teams in the GMC. Like the days when I was a kid of each team dressing 50, 60, like back in the day, Defiance, they would dress 70 kids.
Right.
Napoleon, same 70 kids. It's just over the past 20 years, for whatever reason, which I don't know that anybody has an answer for yet.
Right.
Every year, if you take your average, like for example, look at all the winning seasons Antwerp has had in the past, 8 years or so. Yeah. And they actually didn't have football for a couple years, about 2014, 15-ish.
Right.
Only because they didn't have the numbers. I printed out an Antwerp roster for our game Friday night, and I'm trying to count the underclassmen, like freshmen and sophomores. I don't think I counted 12. I could be wrong, and I apologize if that's inaccurate. So, but I'm just looking at the future for not just Antwerp, but other schools like Ayersville. Like when I was a kid and coach played, Ayersville, just watching them come from the school, just roaring all the way from the back of the school to the football field, they would dress 50 kids plus every single Friday night. And now them and Hicksville, they just struggle to get kids out. And Paulding, look at all the success they've had in the last couple of years, and they have 25 kids on their roster.
I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a magical answer. But getting back to the original subject here, a lot of the programs are really good, which we discussed here. Then there's just a lot of schools that just don't get kids out for football for whatever reason.
And I think too, you look at these programs like this, they do everything about perfect. I mean, let's be honest. You see Liberty Center, their warm-ups, their preparation, their strength and conditioning program. How many times have we talked to people from Liberty Center and they are so proud of the strength and conditioning program and the nutrition program that they have those kids on. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think anyone else in the Green Meadows Conference has that. You know what I mean?
Nope, right.
It's above and beyond of what anyone else is doing, but just the way they carry themselves, on and off the field, they do things the right way. If I had to guess, you go to a football game and, you always see those pictures or whatever they post online of, keeping the locker rooms clean and stuff like that. And I guarantee you these schools go there, you don't even have to question with that. And it's probably looking better than what it was when they came in. Can I say that for a lot of the schools in the area? Not necessarily, but on the field, tremendous. Off the field, they do all the things the right way. And I think that really pays to their, contributes to their performance on the field too. So just rich traditions, and they just do everything the right way. And they don't take any shortcuts. They do everything 100%. I think maybe sometimes some programs in the area maybe get lackadaisical with some of that too. So, I think that's a good one. I mean, I think you're really starting to see some separation between a lot of these schools, and, it's basically them and then the rest of the pack. So last hot take from your perspective, what makes a great player in football today? Who wants to start with this one?
I'll jump in since Coach can go last since he's been around kids for forever coaching. For me, work ethic. You can't teach work ethic. You can't. You just have to love it. You have to love the game. A coachable kid. You want a kid that's going to come off, which we just discussed earlier. You want a kid that's going to learn from what you're telling him, or if you're going to tell him what to do and he's just kind of there, just looking everywhere, zoning out, he's not paying attention, or is he looking the coach in the eye, face to face? Is he paying attention to what's going on? Simple things like that. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, coach. No, coach. A lot of people say family is a big part of it, but
that's a good one.
That's only a little bit of it. You still have to be somebody that wants to work their butt off. Do you do it during the off season? We discussed this last week. Kids nowadays, I don't really see a lot of kids outside playing. They just want to come inside and be on their phone or tablet or watch movies. But to me, I think work ethic and being coachable are without a doubt the main two. So
I just looked up a thing that's a sign that we have. And Keith, you just touched on it. There's a thing that we always kind of we talk about 10 things that require zero talent. Being on time. Making an effort. Having energy. Having a positive attitude, being passionate, good body language, being coachable, as you mentioned, doing a little extra, being prepared, and having a strong work ethic. That's the 10 that we always talk about. It requires zero talent, right? So you obviously, what makes a great football player, obviously you want somebody with talent. I mean, you got to have some talent. You can't be.
Right.
But if I could take 11 kids that live and die by these 10 criteria and make a team and be successful, right? It may not be the most talented kids in the world, but if they live by these 10 criteria, you can be successful. You could have 10 kids with a lot of talent that don't do any of this stuff, and you're not going to be successful because they're going to be fighting with each other all the time. They're going to be, they're not want to listen. They're not going to want to do what you ask them to do.
Selfish plays or whatever.
So for me, I would rely more on, as Keith was touching on, the mental side and these items that we just touched on, more over the physical attribute. I mean, obviously you want a kid that's, 6'3", 220, right. The ball. You know what I mean? You want that.
Yeah.
But I want him to be coachable. And I mean, I want him to do, he's got to be able to do what we're asking him to do. He's got to be able to buy in. And that's what we always talk about big time is buy into the program. Yep. If you get kids to buy into the program, which would go back to the last hot take, Liberty Center, Wapakoneta, Marion Local, those kids are buying into that program.
They are.
They go in, they're 100% in, and that's what makes them successful.
Absolutely.
No, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I think one of the bigger ones too that I don't think anyone said is just being competitive too. And that's just not, going out there and wanting to win. That's in everything. Like you're going out to practice and you're wanting to beat your teammate. You want to be better than him every single rep, even on the football field, you're competitive. If there's a big play that's busted off and you're on the whole other side of the field, that's running all the way down, taking a great pursuit angle and making a touchdown saving tackle. Like, I just don't know that, even today, like you don't see that as often, like where kids just, they have that drive. It's like, you can see it in a handful of kids that we watched this year. And it's amazing to watch. Like it really is. I mean, you see kids that do all these things, you can tell their play on the field will reflect if they are following a lot of these attributes.
Yeah, not to interrupt Logan, but one of the plays we had earlier a couple weeks ago was Marquise Williams.
Yes.
Came from the perfect example of what Coach talked about and you did. Came from the other side of the field. He could have gave up.
He was the opposite side defensive back of the play.
He could have gave up. Hey, this is going for a 70-yard touchdown run. What am I going to do about it? And he runs his butt off and tackles a kid on about the 15, 20, whatever. So effort right there. I mean, that's one of the plays that kind of stood out to me during this conversation was that. So
yeah, and I like what you said too, Keith. Work ethic, and just being coachable. I think now in today's day and age that people just aren't open to criticism on stuff. And it's a lot of times like even I've seen because I've helped coach out some different sports and stuff, but like. Just constructive criticism, I don't think kids take that very well. And I think you need that because a lot of kids, I feel like, don't take a deep dive into where they're at. They maybe kind of think they're maybe a little bit better than what they are. Right. But if you can be self-critical and, take that constructive criticism, I mean, you can be one heck of an athlete. And like you said, if you just take the coaching and you continue to learn, and obviously everyone wants the big 6'3", 225 kid. But the physical side will come for a lot of kids. You can get in the weight room and work, and granted, speed for some people is not always. I mean, you're kind of given with what you're given, but all these other intangibles are so important to making a good football player. And I love what you said, Tony. I mean, you can have zero talent, but if you do all these things, you're going to be solid as an athlete. Right. So. Definitely. Yeah. 100%. Some other things I had written down, resilience, even confidence without being arrogant. I think a lot of times that gets mixed up where some kids get very arrogant, but just in the way you carry yourself, you're doing all the drills crisp and clean and, you're standing tall for everything that you do. You're not bending over at the knees. Like you're just confident in your abilities. I think that's good to have. And then leadership too. Right. Not necessarily, I don't think you really have to be a vocal leader. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that do a really good job at leading by example, but leadership is definitely something that makes a great football player today. So if you hit even 75, 50% of those, you're going to be a solid football player.
One other thing I want to touch on is like when we were talking about individuals earlier, I don't want to mention names as players, but when kids are better younger, like freshmen, sophomores, they get a chance to play because they're just athletes, and they're just playing. And they don't see them do as well when they become juniors and seniors. And I think what you just touched on there, Logan, a little bit of confidence without arrogance. When they're freshmen and sophomores, they haven't developed that arrogance yet, because they're still trying to prove themselves. And maybe they're trying a little harder. They're working a little harder. That kind of thing. And then they get the juniors like, hey, I kind of proved myself last year. And then maybe they start slacking off in the weight room. They're not doing the things they need to do. And then, then as they become seniors, they've really proven themselves. And now they're really kind of being cocky and they think they're the best thing since sliced bread. And they're not getting the same recognition or the same stats or that kind of stuff as they did when they were younger. Yeah. And I think that a lot of that comes down to that being, getting arrogant as you get older.
Yeah, I think, I see that a lot. And some younger kids that do get early playing time, they kind of lose that drive, their upperclassmen years. And it's unfortunate because, there's still a lot of potential in those kids and they kind of lose out on it because they think that they've made it and this and that. But there's always someone out there that's going to be better than you.
That's right.
So,
always.
You always have to strive and have that internal drive. And if you do that, those are the ones that become legendary at their schools. So.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I like those. Those are a bunch of good hot takes. But again, we want to just thank you guys for submitting them. These ones we could talk forever about.
For sure.
But these ones are a little bit different. I like that last one. Gets you thinking a little bit different. So we always like to have at least two kind of designated towards, football teams in the area. And then, the third or fourth one, a fun one or, just kind of make you think a little bit. So continue to send those in. And we thank BSN Sports for sponsoring this segment. So we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back with Week 6 game predictions and our closing thoughts.
BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Looking for a personalized financial guidance right here in Bryan, Ohio? Meet Melissa R. Stockman, CHFC, a trusted Edward Jones financial advisor. Melissa specializes in retirement savings and income strategies, estate and legacy planning, customizable wealth strategies, insurance and annuities, and support for entrepreneurs and business owners. As a chartered financial consultant, she brings deep expertise and care in building financial plans tailored to your goals. Ready to take your next financial step? Call Melissa's office at 419-633-0647 or visit Edward Jones on 130 North Main Street, Bryan to get started. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Under the lights this Friday night. While your team is taking hits on the field, who's got your back off the field? At Batt & Stevens Body Shop in Defiance, we tackle the toughest repairs, from fender benders to full collision restoration. Our iCar Gold Class team scores big on quality and service. Proudly serving Defiance County for over 40 years, with certified technicians, advanced diagnostics, and lifetime warranties. We work with all major insurance providers. Batt & Stevens Body Shop, the home team when your car takes a hit. Visit us at batandstevens.com or call 419-497-3111. Fitzenreiter HVAC, keeping Northwest Ohio comfortable since 1955. Whether it's scorching summer heat or bitter winter cold, Fitzenreiter has your back with expert heating, cooling, and indoor air quality solutions for your residential and commercial needs. Need fast, reliable service? Call the local pros you can trust. Fitzenreiter HVAC. Give them a call today at 419-784-0828 or visit fitzenreiterhvac.com for more info. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at NWOBall.com. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Nestled in the heart of Sherwood, Ohio, Crystal Fountain Park invites you to say I do, in a place where history whispers around every corner. Surrounded by 28 acres of woods, meadows, illuminated trails, outdoor chapels, a tranquil reflection pond, and fire pit lounges. Whether planning a wedding, rehearsal dinner, or elegant gathering, Crystal Fountain Park blends historic elegance with modern flexibility and heartfelt service. Visit crystalfountainpark.com or call 419-576-1910 today to book your unforgettable moment.
RE/MAX Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer.
Experience award-winning care at Defiance Chiropractic Center, voted first place in the Crescent News Readers' Choice Awards Best of the Region. We offer chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, DOT and sports physicals, and personalized wellness plans. Located at 1770 Jefferson Avenue in Defiance. Call 419-784-2300 today and feel your best naturally.
Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to Week 6 game predictions. So let's get things kicked off. We're looking at the Green Meadows Conference here first. First game is Tenora 1-4 at Antwerp 2-3. We'll be there with Tenora Rams Live. Again, Antwerp's coming off a win against Hicksville. Tenora coming off a tough loss to Fairview. You look at this one on paper, Tenora, I think, is obviously the favorite. You know, they've got a little bit more, I think, skilled athletes than what Antwerp has, but I really do. I think this game's going to be probably closer than what people are first thinking. Tenora's kind of having a rough start, one win, that tough non-conference schedule. They got to get things turned around in a hurry. Antwerp on the flip side, starting to figure some things out, played pretty efficient against Hicksville. Hampton Rogue's throwing the football really well. Yep. I think Antwerp gives Tenora a run for their money, but I think Tenora comes up with the win in this one. Give me the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams. Rams better start winning, or else the 2025 playoff door is going to be closed and locked here soon.
Rams for me.
And AJ had Tenora, and Matthew had Tenora, so Tenora across the board. Next game, Hicksville 1-4 at Wayne Trace 1-4. As we always say, there's probably going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. We really saw Wayne Trace create a lot of havoc for the Edgerton offense, creating a lot of interceptions. We know Hicksville likes to throw the football a little bit. Hicksville just had 3 interceptions against Antwerp the week before. I think going into Wayne Trace, tough environment to play, coming off a big win against Edgerton. I like Wayne Trace and the Raiders odds in this game. I think they win by a couple scores. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah, it's amazing what 1 week can do, guys. Big win by the Raiders last week over Edgerton, so taking the Raiders.
The Raiders.
And AJ and Matthew both had Wayne Trace as well. Wayne Trace across the board. Next game, Edgerton 4-1 at Ayersville 0-5. In this game, believe it or not, I was back and forth on. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it again. Ayersville is a much better team than an 0-5 squad at this point in time. Edgerton, suffered a tough loss to Wayne Trace last week, but again, Wayne Trace just has the keys to beating Edgerton, it seems like, the last couple of years. Yep. I think this one's going to come down to if Eli Berner can continue to run the football really well, and if Ayersville can create turnovers on Edgerton's offense. Maddox Baker, if he controls the football and he limits to 1 turnover, 1 interception, 1 fumble, whatever, I think Edgerton wins. But if not, I think Ayersville has a really good shot at winning this, especially being at home. But I think the Bulldogs rebound in this week, and I think Edgerton comes up with the win.
I'd left this one blank for the longest time. I mean, I still don't know which way to go, but Ayersville's been close. They've been close. So here, I think the Pilots get their first win. I'm taking the Pilots.
I was actually thinking Ayersville at the beginning, but I think since Edgerton lost last week against Wayne Trace, I'm like with you, Logan. I think they're going to rebound and come out with a little bit of a force. I'm picking the Bulldogs myself.
And AJ and Matthew both had Edgerton. So Keith going against the grain here. Next game is going to be our NWO Sports Game of the Week, and that is none other than the Fairview Apaches 5-0 travel to the Paulding Panthers 5-0. Biggest game of the Green Meadows Conference now. This could be for all the marbles, potentially for conference champion. Paulding, really close game last week against Ayersville. We know Paulding's got a lot of athletes with the Mans brothers. They've got Blake Roanhouse. They've got Colt Hunt. Avery Cooper, that's a name that hasn't been mentioned often or as much this year, back at running back. Fairview on the flip side, Will Zedike, Logan Ohlinger, Jonathan Huffman, Gavin Mead, Brody Williams. The list goes on and on. I think with all that being said, it's going to be a tough battle being at Paulding. It's always kind of, I don't know what it is with officiating crews at Paulding, but I'm sure it's going to be kind of a tough called game there.
So you're thinking that myself.
But I think Fairview, I think they're going to win this one. I think Paulding's offense, unless they can, again, kind of go with almost what Tenora's game plan was with the rushing attack and kind of, keep their defense off the field. I think if they do that, then Paulding has a shot. But I think if you try to go toe-to-toe with Fairview, I don't know that they can hang on to that. So I'm going to take the Apaches. And if Paulding can establish that run attack with Avery Cooper, I think they hang in there and have a shot. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm going with the Apaches.
Yeah, this is a huge game. This was a tough one to pick as well. Going to be a high-scoring game, I think. Of course, we thought that last week, which kind of was Tenora and Ayersville, or Tenora and Fairview towards the end. But I think Fairview has been there before. They've had some tough games in the past. And I'm going to take Coach Rakes and the Apaches.
Apaches for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Fairview as well. So Fairview across the board. I also think Fairview has been a little bit more battle-tested than Paulding at this point. They've been playing late into a couple games with Delta and Wauseon, so they kind of know how to handle themselves in that aspect too. So guess we'll find out on Friday night.
Yep.
Next game, Swanton 0-5 at Archbold 4-1. We just got done talking about Archbold, one of the more impressive teams this year in our coverage area. Against the Swanton team, I heard that they're playing a lot of underclassmen. I thought they said like 15 or 16 they're starting freshman and sophomore.
Jeez.
About what you have to do if you're rebuilding a program. So I think this one's going to get ugly. I think the Blue Streaks win by a bazillion.
Streaks for me.
Streaks.
And AJ and Matthew both had Archbold. Next game, Evergreen 4-1 at Bryan 1-4. Again, Bryan's continued to struggle this year. This game's at Bryan. I don't think you necessarily count Bryan out of this game.
No, I don't think so.
They had a nice win earlier in the year against Bowling Green. Evergreen, we're going to see how they rebound against a tough loss against Archbold. Evergreen was riding sky high, going 4-0 into that game. Now they suffered their first loss of the season. I think in this game, I like the Vikings, but I think this one's close. I think it's within a 1 or 2 score game.
I agree with everything you said, Logan. Taking Evergreen.
Evergreen for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Evergreen as well. Next game, Wauseon 0-5 at Delta 3-2. Again, Delta's playing really well. They run the football really, really solid. Vincent Martinez and Marcus Nagel. Wauseon, Cale Albright has been a stud all year long for them. Could this be the week that the Indians get over the hump? I don't know, but I think coming off a fairly solid performance against Patrick Henry, I think similar situation to Bryan Evergreen. I think Wauseon keeps this one closer than what people think, but I still think Delta comes up with the win.
Yep. Congratulations again to Coach Vickers. For me, I'm taking the Panthers.
And I'm taking Delta at home.
And AJ and Matthew both had Delta. I think if Wauseon wants a chance in this one, Cale Albright, he's got to run the football. He's got to find the connection with Logan Peasley for some big plays if they want a shot at this one. Next game, Patrick Henry 5-0 at Liberty Center 5-0. We know going into this game, Liberty Center is the heavy favorite. Patrick Henry's had a nice start to the season. We know that they're dealing with a couple of injuries. Not sure who exactly those players are, but they're going to need to be all hands on deck for this week if they want a shot at taking down the big dog and the Tigers. But I think Liberty Center, as much as success as Patrick Henry has had, I think Liberty wins this one big. I think they potentially put a running clock on them too.
Yeah, we got one Hall of Fame coach and Coach Inselman, and probably a future Hall of Fame coach and Coach Moeller going head-to-head here again. But yeah, I think Liberty Center is just so much better than any team in the area. So Tigers big.
Tigers.
And Matthew and AJ both had Liberty Center. Next game, Ottawa Hills 2-3 at Eden 4-1. Eden, again, we don't know much about them. We haven't had a lot of information from them, but they're continuing to play some solid football at this point in time. Ottawa Hills suffered a tough loss to Hilltop last week, which Drew Pasteur had Hilltop favored by, I think, 30-plus points. Ottawa Hills is just not quite the same Ottawa Hills as the past. They had a couple of kids. I know their key running back transfer out, so that's tough too. But this game being at Eden, I'm going to take the Bombers. I think they win this one by a few scores.
Taking the Bombers.
Eden for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Eden as well. Next game, Whiteford, Michigan 3-1 at Montpelier 3-2. I think this is going to be a solid game. Whiteford, again, Coach Teeks does a great job up there. Whiteford has always been a contender, a playoff team. I think they're just a few years removed. Didn't they have a state championship not too many years ago? Montpelier and Coach Robinson. Hayden Sharps had a really nice game last week for the Locomotives. Griff Cooley, solid linebacker and running back for him as well. I think they're going to have to play about a perfect game to take down a Whiteford team. I don't know if they get it done this week. I'm going with Whiteford.
I think Montpelier plays that perfect game, so I'm taking the Locos.
I'm going with Whiteford.
And AJ and Matthew both had Whiteford as well. So Keith going against the grain, trying to pick up some games here. Next game, Erie Mason, Michigan, 0-4 at Hilltop, 1-4. I think if you're a cadet over there in West Unity, I think you're riding sky high after coming off your first win of the season. You know, those don't come very often. This game's being played at Hilltop too. I think they come up with a big win in this one. So give Hilltop their second win of the season.
Now we're talking about possibly a 2-game winning streak for the Cadets. Holy moly, taking Hilltop.
Hilltop for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Hilltop as well. Next game, Summerfield, Michigan, 2-2 at North Central, 1-4. Don't know too much about Summerfield, Michigan. North Central, they've got one win against Perry this season. I think with this one, I'm going to go with Summerfield just because we know the struggles that North Central's had this year and even last year too. Just struggling to really kind of get over to that hump into the next level of, you know, having another season with a handful of wins. So I'm taking Summerfield, Michigan.
Summerfield for me.
I went North Central, guys.
Any reason?
No, just trying to pick up a win.
Pick up a win.
And AJ and Matthew both had Summerfield as well. Next game, Allen East 1-4 at Columbus Grove 2-3. And I believe last week Allen East was in quite a battle with Crestview, and we know Crestview is one of the better teams at NWC. They got that Braxton Leith. That game, I believe, came down to the wire. This game being played at Clymer Stadium, I know that Columbus Grove suffered their first loss there in I don't know how many years. But I can guarantee you that Coach Schaefer is not going to let that happen again at all costs. So I think the Bulldogs come up with a win. The last 2 weeks, I feel like Columbus Grove has played with an absolute vengeance. I mean, they've jumped to 40, 50-point leads at halftime, and there was no looking back. So give me the Columbus Grove Bulldogs.
Dogs for me.
I'm going with Grove.
And AJ and Matthew both had Grove as well. Next game, Riverdale 0-5 at Lipsick 5-0. Lipsick, one of the hotter teams in all the area, undefeated record at this point. They've really got some nice weapons. Mark Kirkendall at quarterback's done a terrific job this year. Marquise Williams making plays all over the field. You got a star wide receiver in Avery Paris. You know, what a combo. I mean, there's not much you can ask for with a quality quarterback, a solid running back and athlete, really, because he makes plays on special teams, and Marquise Williams and Avery Paris tearing things up receiving. I think they win this one huge. Running clock.
Yep, Vikings big.
Vikings for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Lipsick as well. Next game, Lima Shawnee at Defiance 2-3. Last couple of weeks have not really favored the Bulldogs all that well. They've kind of had a tougher schedule, dropping to Van Wert and a big loss to St. Mary's. I think Defiance is struggling to figure out some things at this point in time. Lima Shawnee, one of the better years that they've had in quite some time. I can't even tell you probably when the last time they were off to a 4-1 start. But I like the way that Shawnee's playing. I'm taking Shawnee.
Yep, Indians big.
Shawnee for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had Shawnee as well. St. Mary's 2-3 at Ottawa Glandorf 0-5. don't let that 2-3 record fool you, because St. Mary's is still a solid team. Maybe not the St. Mary's that we've seen in the past, but they're going to still run the football and they're going to do it very well. I'm taking St. Mary's in this one.
Yep. Give me the Fighting Hearns. Give me St. Mary's.
St. Mary's for me.
And AJ and Matthew both had St. Mary's as well. Next game, Wapakoneta 5-0 at Van Wert 3-2. I know we've been, praising Van Wert quite a bit this season, and we covered them a lot because Van Wert's played in a lot of close games. But Wapakoneta is just one of those teams that we kind of classified in that next level.
Right.
Just hard to stop. I had heard too that their quarterback, I can't think of what his name is throwing like almost 90% completion percentage for the year. It's incredible. But I think Wapakoneta wins. I think they win big, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a game I myself like to keep an eye on during our game Friday night. But yeah, I think Wapakoneta just has so much more power. So taking Wapak.
Wapak for me.
Caleb Moyer, that's his name.
Yep.
Solid quarterback. But Matthew and AJ both had Wapakoneta as well. Next game is going to be our NWO Sports Radio Game of the Week, so check that out on Network 1 Sports and YouTube if available. And that's Sylvania Southview 1-4 at Napoleon 3-2. Napoleon really one of the hotter teams at this point.
Yep.
Starting to catch some momentum here. I like the Wildcats a lot. And, Coach Sweary's done a really nice job at utilizing Hayden Grohl. I'm not sure how healthy Eggers is back. I saw last game he only had a couple carries, but Hayden Grohl's been that lead back, and man, he's tearing things up, and really probably one of the most impressive players this season, who's really stepped up, and maybe not a name that people were talking about, but definitely should be now, because he's been the superstar of that offense. Give me the Wildcats, and I think they win big.
Yep, Cats.
Napoleon for me.
AJ and Matthew both had Napoleon as well, so Napoleon across the board. Next game, a couple of 8-man games here. Holgate 2-2 at Sebring McKinley 3-2. This game, kind of looking at it on paper, could be a very even matchup, kind of looking at some of the teams that they played. But I'm going to take the Tigers, just looking at some score comparisons and the way that they played against some teams that Sebring McKinley's already played. I like the Tigers.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Michael Sebring McKinley, so I'm taking the local team, Holgate.
Holgate for me.
And Matthew and AJ both had Holgate as well. Last game, Stryker 2-3 at Chalker 4-0. I think Stryker's going to have their hands full. Chalker's been tearing things up this season in 8-man football. It's going to take quite a performance if the Panthers want to come up with a win, but I don't think they get it on. I think they play on Saturday night. So give me Chalker.
I don't know anything about Chalker, where they're at, but it's one of the coolest names around. So give me Chalker.
I'm taking Chalker.
And Matthew had Chalker, but AJ picked Stryker. One of these weeks he'll wear his shirt. He's got to bring it in. Stryker's #1 fan is behind the production. So AJ had Stryker. Well, that concludes our Week 6 game predictions. We're on to closing thoughts, guys, heading into Week 6.
Like you mentioned earlier, Logan, playoff implications are starting to come into play here as teams, get into their conference schedules, and you got to win. You got to start winning now. So no more playing around.
Yep, got a couple good games Friday night, as we always say. Get out, watch a game, check out the bands. I mean, if nothing else, if you're a music person, you got 20 minutes of bands at the half. So perfect weather again, hopefully. So.
Yeah, and you talk about playoffs too. I mean, now is the time that, if you're not winning some of these big games right now, you're basically eliminated from the playoffs, especially only being 12 teams instead of 16. Before it was 16, you could have a losing record, we saw, and still get in. But now you got to start tightening up the chin strap a little bit and get ready to go, because if not, and you mess around, you're going to miss out on playoffs. And the big thing this year is, points are really critical. Especially for those top 4 seeds, is because you get home. I think you're the home team. Well, you get a bye
2 weeks for sure.
You get a bye if you're one of the top 4, correct?
So.
And then you get home field
regional finals, right?
Pretty
Into
much
the regional finals or something like that.
Yeah, so that's huge advantage. Like, could you imagine playing a home game that late into the playoffs? Incredible. So do or die for a lot of teams, and especially if you only have 1 or 2 wins. You start racking them up here to make the playoffs and get a quality seed. So other than that, I'm excited for another great week of football. Check out the NWO Sports Game of the Week. That Fairview Paulding game is going to be solid. That's always been a great game if you just have an interest in football and maybe that don't follow a specific team, but you want to go watch a good football game. Go to that game. NWO Sports Radio will be at Napoleon and Sylvania Southview, so tune into that too, and we'll be Tenor Rams Live with Tenor and Antwerp. So a lot of good games that you can go catch. But other than that, I got nothing. So we'd like to thank all of our sponsors: BSN Sports, Bat and Stevens Body Shop, Titan Sports, Fitz and Ryder, Edward Jones and Melissa Stockman, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Crystal Fountain Park, Defiance Chiropractic Center, Northwest Ohio Basketball, Remax Realty and Matt Yost, Tenor Rams Live, and the Drop Zone Pizzeria. We'd like to give a special thanks again to Defiance Chiropractic for letting us use their facility for the podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.